Welcome to Atlanta Community Profiles, a show about living in Atlanta. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and commercial and residential real estate experts. And now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. You'll find them in most real estate brokerage firms and chambers of commerce at no charge. They are also on my website, atlantacommunityprofiles.com, and along with a great deal of other information about the area. And I'm also a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties, if I can help you with any of your real estate needs. My website for the real estate business is louwhelan.com, and the magazines are, again, are atlantacommunityprofiles.com. And just through October, residential sales, detached sales, were up 2% over last year, and prices were up 6%. So we're forecasting a similar increase next year. And every week we interview a community leader, somebody who's contributing to the well-being of our community. And it is my pleasure to once again welcome back to our show Terrence Moore, City Manager of the great city of College Park. Welcome back to the show, Terrence.
Thank
Great
you, Lou.
to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you're a busy guy over there. A lot happening in your city. You have a daytime population of 300,000 and a permanent kind of residential population of around 20,000.
Yes, that is correct.
And so you're a busy guy. We've been reading a lot about you or your city.
Yes.
In the Atlanta Business Chronicle, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and
yes,
everything.
we're all over the place these days.
But we appreciate, first of all, let me just say thank you for your service to the community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
People make sacrifices for the well-being of the community, people like yourself. And
thank you.
We certainly appreciate. We wouldn't have a city if it weren't for people like yourself making sacrifices and contributing. You're a native of Chicago.
Yes.
Have an undergraduate and graduate degree in economics and public administration from the University of Illinois. Postgraduate certificate from Florida Atlantic University Department of Urban and Regional Planning and the University of Virginia Senior Executive Institute for Local Government Management. But I wanted to start asking you, right after your name on your bio are an acronym ICMA-CM. What does that stand for?
Interesting you asked me that, Lou, because you've been hanging out with me for a while, and I don't think you've ever asked me that because people frequently ask me about that. So that is my professional certification. It stands for the International City County Management Association's Credentialed Manager. I am a member of the inaugural class of that program, interestingly enough, going back almost 18 years. And essentially, I am obligated to provide an annual report outlining 40 hours of professional development and training in order to maintain that certification, summarizing what I've learned and thus been able to develop and contribute over the course of that year. And I've been able to maintain that certification ever since. You may be familiar, as a real estate professional, you may be familiar with architects who may have an AIA certification behind their name. So the ICMA-CM designation is akin to that approach.
Okay.
Or a professional engineer who may have a PE behind their name as a professional engineer. So there is such a designation for professional career city managers such as myself, and I've been involved in this designation since about 2001 when it did become available. So I'm one of the first individuals nationwide to achieve this certification, which I've enjoyed, as I mentioned a little while ago, for about 18 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, did I understand you correctly to say there are 40 hours a year of
correct.
further education? Or what?
That's correct. 40 hours of the professional development, and an annual report is required. For me, the annual report is typically due to the International City County Management Association by Labor Day weekends, circa September 1st. And in essence, I have an opportunity to summarize what I've learned, what I've engaged as far as professional development and training via conferences, coursework, other sessions, my work with the Georgia State University Andrew Young School of Policy Studies, for which I volunteer as a professional in residence, guest lecturing, mentoring undergraduate and graduate students who may have an interest in public service someday. So I've been able to offer some commitments along those lines, and that's a qualification as well. So I've been able to make a steady go of it all, and thankfully it's been for quite some time, as I mentioned earlier.
Well, great. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that the community will benefit greatly from your knowledge and continued growth and contributions.
Thank you. We try our best, that's for sure.
Thank you. So now the city is 10 miles, right? 10 square miles.
Actually, closer to 11. So since I've been on board the City of College Park, we've actually facilitated several voluntary annexations, which pushed the boundaries to closer to 11. This was in advance of the incorporation of the City of South Fulton. So in the years 2015 into 2016, a number of voluntary annexations ensued to enable expansion of the corporate boundaries of College Park, thereby encouraging additional economic development opportunities as well as such for community development as well.
So that's great. You've won a lot. The city has won a lot of awards. You're also the home of Woodward Academy, the largest private school, I guess, in the country, or certainly the best.
Right. It is the largest independent preparatory school in the continental United States, and we do recognize Woodward Academy as being a notable aspect of College Park. As along those lines, it is regarded as our principal educational environment. Of course, we have relationships with the Fulton County School District, with several schools via their jurisdiction at helm. However, given the size and scope of Woodward Academy, that is actually the largest educational environment within the corporate limits of College Park. So we do spend a great deal of time nurturing that relationship as we go along as well.
I'm sure you do. You have 850 properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive. How does that impact the community in various aspects?
Very positively, actually. So the basis for this recognition is the fact that College Park is actually home to one of the largest historic residential districts in the state of Georgia. I believe it is currently ranked fourth in the state of Georgia in terms of residential historic districts. So people may articulate the designation of Historic College Park or the College Park Historic District. Interestingly enough, many of your homes that are located within a district are some of the more valuable residential real estate in the corporate limits of College Park. Fortunately, when I came on board to become College Park City Manager, I was able to purchase a home located within the corporate limits or the limits of the historic district as well. And it does offer a great deal of convenience, livability, and overall quality of life. I think many other areas of the community enjoy a solid quality of life. However, because of the presence of Woodward Academy within the district and close proximity and access to other points of interest, this is a well-regarded area, and therefore much of the property appreciation in the corporate limits of College Park are in fact driven by the activity within the historic district itself. So it is a really neat recognition to have in place, and quite frankly, something for us to be proud of.
Well, you gave me a very good segue there, property values, because just happen to have the exact figures here.
I'm sure you do, Lou.
And for detached median sales price in the last 5 years has gone from $99,450 to, at the end of November, almost 55% increase to $148,950.
And the number you just quoted, Lou, is actually on the low end in terms of the corporate limits of College Park. So it's interesting because some of the addresses included in that analysis include portions of what is now the city of South Fulton because of the way the United States Postal Service position addresses. Many of the properties located in the College Park in the corporate limits of South Fulton still retain a College Park address.
Mm-hmm.
So we do what we can internally to try to extrapolate statistics to truly reflect the boundaries, and we look forward to working closely with the city of South Fulton to achieve cooperation to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a continuous process going along.
Okay.
Henceforth, the property values are probably a lot significantly higher,
Okay.
believe it or not.
Okay.
Hmm.
Like, would you estimate 20% higher or 30?
Probably
under
more.
200, right? Would be under 200.
It would be higher than 200.
Over 200.
Easily.
Okay.
Particularly in the historic district, because properties range anywhere between 250 to a half million, three-quarters of a million. There was a recent sales transaction in the historic district, as I've been advised, of about $1.2 million in the vicinity of Woodward Academy.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the show, after the break. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with a familiar guest on our show, Terrence Moore, and who is the city manager of College Park, a city that has a permanent residential population of 20,000, but a daytime population of upwards of 300,000. And, you know, here's a question that I don't think I've asked you before, but what do you think is the impact of the huge daytime population on the property values? Is that, don't you think, it would seem to me that would generate a great deal of positive influence, because people become aware of it through their involvement in the working force there.
That's exactly correct, Lou. So a number of people, I talked a little bit about the historic College Park Historic District, the proximity to the MARTA station, the proximity to the airport, actually encourages a great deal of interest in terms of convenience. So another positive aspect is the number of professionals who've made College Park its home due to the presence of the world's most traveled airport, as it is now regarded as at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and therefore more recognition along those lines and future economic development activity. There's been news recently regarding the prospect of Airport City. The city of College Park currently finalizing proposal considerations relative to the expansion of development activity as a result of this additional interest having come to fruition. Proximity to the airport, the historic district, other notable aspects of the community contributes greatly to desirability, quite frankly, and that's a good place to be. So it does come with challenges and opportunities along the way. However, it's overwhelmingly positive, and I think the city of College Park is in really good position because of it.
Well, as long as you mention Airport City, that's a say. We'll go ahead and start on that topic first of all,
By all
because
means.
that is a $500 million project, I believe, or something. It's unbelievably huge. And is that right? 500 million, or I've heard various numbers.
Sure, potentially because of the infrastructure investment associated therein and the tremendous opportunity for mixed-use development, some residential, some commercial activity to create a sound mixed-use environment in an area that is otherwise not possible for development. I like to bring to listeners' attention the principal basis for this opportunity coming to fruition. Going back to 2014, the city of College Park became successful in reacquiring property from the city of Atlanta, land that had previously been acquired by the city of Atlanta, specifically the Department of Aviation, for aviation purposes, expansion activity, etc. So the city of College Park was able to secure or reacquire property that had once belonged to the city of Atlanta for the aforementioned purpose. And as a result of that, we are primed for ancillary development activity, as I just described via the airport city concept. Mm-hmm. For that reason, we are quite fortunate and excited to enjoy the opportunity for which we will be embarking. And in the coming weeks, coming months, we look forward to being able to share specifics regarding details and scope of the development activity as a result of what I just outlined coming to fruition. So again, very exciting times for the city of College Park.
The preliminary plans for that, though, just from a macro standpoint, involves quite a few restaurants, hotels, and
Correct.
individual detached and attached housing.
That's part of the overall vision. And another reason for this approach is, particularly on the hospitality side, there is a close proximity to the fabulous Georgia National Convention Center, the newest and second largest convention center facility in the state of Georgia, which is actually owned and operated by the city of College Park. I like to remind people. And the proximity to the airport city, the current arena at College Park at Gateway Center project currently under construction, ties in quite nicely relative to development activity overall. So it makes a great deal of sense from a hospitality standpoint, but as well as for purposes of achieving a mixed-use environment that otherwise would not be possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've touched on almost all my topics.
Well, just a
we
little.
need to go into fill in the blank, though, and talk a little bit more about the specifics. But, you know, the Hawks, I know you're very proud of the new G League
Yes.
Facility,
Yes.
which is like a $42 million facility. Is that correct?
The total project is along those lines, and the actual construction transaction is a little bit less than that. However, with all aspects of the project coming to fruition, that is about the price tag. Interestingly enough, it's important to clarify or continue to clarify for interested parties. The arena at College Park Gateway Center is an expansion of the Georgia National Convention Center. Mm-hmm. Again, owned and operated by the city of College Park to make that overall operation more profitable and viable, and that will be able to attract more opportunities, attract other visitors, other events, other activities, etc. The relationship with the Atlanta Hawks basketball club is such that they are primarily an anchor tenant. Mm-hmm. So the first tenant, long-term tenant via a 10-year license agreement between the city of College Park and the Atlanta Hawks basketball club was executed initially back in 2016, finalized in 2017, in advance of initiating construction, which began earlier this year. So that's a really proud accomplishment because, of course, the National Basketball Association is actually expanding G League opportunities in different parts of the country. Washington, D.C., the D.C. Go-Go recently began play in 2018. College Park is set to begin competition at the arena at College Park Gateway Center in the fall of 2019. So as the project is about 36% complete with an anticipated time frame for opening in the early fall, we look forward to kicking off a very productive experience as a result of the partnership with the Atlanta Hawks basketball club. Very exciting times from a hospitality standpoint, as well as bringing due recognition to the city of College Park via its partnership with the Atlanta Hawks basketball club.
Just to help people understand the connection with the Hawks, it's sort of like the G League is sort of like the minor league baseball teams, right? Are they kind of like a farm club, or in that regard?
Very fair analogies, Lou. Very fair comparisons. That's exactly correct. The way I've learned a lot about National Basketball Association operations via my relationships and negotiations with the Atlanta Hawks basketball club, and there are some fundamental differences I've come to learn. For example, a veteran player, much like baseball actually, a veteran player may have been involved with the National Basketball Association for a number of years, and that individual may be assigned to a G League team or previously known as developmental league team, and to enter into a National Basketball Association team once they've reached a certain plateau of performance. So people come in, people come out, and it's a way to develop players and develop a franchise. What the Atlanta Hawks Basketball Club hopes to accomplish is making this investment so as to develop future quality stars to represent the NBA team known as the Atlanta Hawks going forward. So a number of interesting nuances that come with that particular arrangement, but another anticipated trajectory involves the fact that the NBA is relaxing rules in terms of the age in which young people can enter the league. Some talented basketball players may be able to forego college, and instead of jumping on board with an NBA franchise immediately, they may make a stop for a year or two, whatever the case may be part of a developmental league team so that they may enjoy an opportunity to develop professionally earlier than anticipated. So rule changes are anticipated to be announced along those lines, and I think it's smart on part of the Atlanta Hawks Basketball Club to strategically position themselves to enjoy the opportunities they will be able to have as a result. So a lot of interesting experiences, a lot of moving parts, and the landscape is evolving and changing as a result of the business of professional athletics.
That's very interesting.
It is, by all means.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're sitting here with the city manager of the great city of College Park, a familiar personality on our show, and we're certainly happy to welcome him back. And so much happening over there in your city, and it's not defined by the population of 20,000 by any stretch of the imagination in terms of its overall impact on and influence within the metro area. So many other dynamics, such as including the fact that the airport is in your city.
Yes, that's a compelling factor on a consistent basis.
Makes it the single largest airport, I guess, in the world, and most heavily trafficked airport, and right in your backyard. And
that's correct, personally and professionally.
So you have so many things happening over there, and the real estate prices are going up. Maybe more than anywhere else in the metro area, right?
It's
in
up
the last
there.
few years.
Yes,
maybe the biggest increase.
Yes, I'm taking a look at some statistical analysis or projected analysis over the last 5 years, for instance. That is absolutely the case, and quite frankly, some more recent experiences transcend some of the reports you've been able to discuss with me as well. So, likewise, I believe you'll be able to see even more increases along the way the next time that we visit in the coming months, I suppose.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to that discussion.
By all means.
The one thing I would like to mention, and with the G League and all the dynamics of that industry changing, and which is quite fascinating, is the impact that will have on tourism in your city.
Sure.
How do you calculate that or estimate that?
Sure. Well, with the arena at College Park Gateway Center and being an expansion of the Georgia National Convention Center, there will be more activities for sporting events above and beyond the Atlanta Hawks Basketball Club relationship, and therefore more regional tourism activity come into fruition. And in our discussions with the commissioner of the National Basketball Association G League, fellow by the name of Malcolm Turner, we've interacted with while engaging negotiations with the Atlanta Hawks Basketball Club, there may be some national opportunities as well to host a G League playoff competition or maybe even the championship game, because it's very much structured in a schedule similar to that of the NBA in terms of format, level of competition, etc. And the G League season typically from fall until late winter, early spring, and therefore a surge in hospitality events, activity, Malou. And interestingly enough, given the fact that College Park has somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 hotel, motel facilities within its corporate limits, that's really important as well in terms of economic impact across the board. And that's part of the analysis we take under consideration to support as to whether or not an investment along these lines should be made. So once the logistics came together, it became a bit of a no-brainer because the hospitality environment will benefit and expand, quite frankly. And it is also catalytic, given some of the other development activity and other recognitions coming to fruition. I'd like to mention one other project that's actually been recently completed, the BMW training facility. You may have a question or two about that as we go along, but that's also located in the vicinity of the Georgia National Convention Center as well, right down the street from where the Airport City development will be positioned as well. So going gangbusters, and a number of cranes coming out of the ground for development activity for other opportunities within the Gateway Center. So it's really neat to have in place.
I saw that it'll only have 12 full-time employees, but it'll be bringing people in to the facility from all around the world, and be more tens of thousands of people actually will actually work there, but only a few full-time.
That's correct. You're referring to the BMW training facilities. So a permanent staff, local presence of about 12 individuals. However, on a daily operational basis, their model is to have people come in and out. And quite frankly, one of the competitive advantages that the city of College Park enjoyed in landing this particular opportunity is the availability of land in the vicinity of the world's busiest airport. So logistically, it made sense for BMW as a corporation to work closely with the city of College Park and the state of Georgia to land this particular opportunity. So for that reason, we're quite excited in that regard, because that additional level of activity, people traveling to and from, contributes to the local economy as well. So above and beyond the corporate presence of BMW in terms of their Southeast United States training facility, it provides an opportunity for new visitors, more people who may have an interest in College Park, Georgia as a community, as a good place in which to do business. Is quite exciting. And thankfully we were able to make that happen, and it's a good place to be as well.
I can see the economic impact on hotels and restaurants.
Absolutely.
Entertainment venues will be astounding.
Also a catalytic opportunity. So for that reason, I think a number of good decisions were made by Mayor and City Council in College Park, City Administration working collaboratively with the respective partners, and the multitude of opportunities and projects coming to fruition is just really exciting. And quite frankly, I feel very proud as a professional.
I can see why.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan. We're sitting here with Terrence Moore, the city manager of College Park, and so many exciting things happening there, and so many things that would have a positive impact on the investment opportunities in your community, Terrence. And as a realtor, it's very interesting to watch and hopefully participate. I hopefully will be involved in some of those projects myself. But one of the things, too, that we wanted to touch on is the Temple Square transit-oriented development.
Yes.
Then Invest America, I believe, is the company behind that. And what is their connection with that? And
so that's a partnership that in which the developers involved in Temple Square will offer details about as we go along. So our principal emissary working to achieve the Temple Square project is a company known as Air Realty. fellow by the name of Rod Mullis, who is an interesting fellow. He had some pretty solid success in the last couple of years with the development of a residential complex known as the Pad on Harvard. And he's been championing, quite frankly, the concept of transit-oriented development, which is essentially defined as a development program to encourage mass transit use. So the proximity of the College Park downtown MARTA station, as well as the proximity to College Park downtown, some other notable aspects of the community, including the Woodward Academy main campus, creates that environment for respective land use. Mayor and City Council, along with the College Park Planning Commission, therefore authorized specific zoning requirements to govern a transit-oriented development program. So transit-oriented development, I should say, TOD, is a function of the Temple Square proposal. So Temple Square is regarded as a significant TOD endeavor, and therefore I'm pleased to report the groundbreaking ceremony scheduled to take place this coming Friday, December 14th, on site. So what we're talking about are some different levels of residential property for ownership, investment, and therefore another exciting step in terms of ancillary residential growth in the corporate limits of College Park.
What's the scope of the project?
Still being finalized. However, smaller single-family opportunities, including townhomes in particular. So other details to be directed going forward. There are some discussions relative to some supporting commercial activity as well. However, it's primarily residential for purposes of encouraging access to the MARTA system, as well as other opportunities to gel within the community, to create some higher levels of density along those lines as well, because of the lack or not as much of a need for additional residential parking, because people are on public transportation, utilizing foot, whatever the case might be. So that is what transit-oriented development encourages, and for that reason, is a leadership position in many respects as a municipality. You'll find some examples of transit-oriented development in other parts of metropolitan Atlanta as well. Brookhaven, I believe, has done some, as well as other communities that are close in proximity to the MARTA station or a MARTA station.
I think Tucker, too. Maybe.
Tucker may have gotten to that place as well. That's correct. But there are other examples in that regard. And as far as the south region of metropolitan Atlanta, College Park is likewise a leader in encouraging transit-oriented development opportunities wherever possible. So another exciting accomplishment for Mr. Rod Mullis, City of College Park, and everyone else involved.
What kind of costs of housing are we looking at? Is this moderate price housing or?
Actually, it would be market rate. So again, given the expanding numbers and that's probably accurate. But again, it will be based on market conditions in that regard, which again, as I talked earlier, is on an upswing. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out in terms of actual outcomes, in particular, considering the fact that we are on a positive trajectory in terms of increased property values.
You actually don't have any undeveloped land, do you, in College Park? Is there really? You have 10 square miles, but very little of it is undeveloped.
Yes. So
11, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. Within the 11, nearly 11, about 11, the Airport City, there's a lot of acreage in that regard. The Airport City, as we talked about a little while ago, is about 320 acres. So given the direction, vision for mixed-use opportunities and getting to a place in which we can achieve in that regard, that's a major investment. Also, there are a number of other properties that are actually owned by the City of College Park via its Business and Industrial Development Authority for infill development opportunities, either on a commercial basis, some residential, not as much, but definitely on a commercial side and some possible light industrial. There are a number of different opportunities available, and given the presence of Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, those properties are becoming more and more desirable for development activity. So above and beyond the Airport City endeavor, there are some ancillary opportunities that are coming to fruition to help make College Park the absolute best community it can be.
The lower income housing, is that in multifamily housing? What's your paradigm on that for College Park?
Well, in some respects, a number of existing multiple family complexes, a number of opportunities to support that environment currently exist. As far as the marketplace, the primary focus is market rate housing, quite frankly, because that's where the community is going, the desirability working to achieve in that regard. However, there is no direction to disregard any interests for low to moderate income opportunities. However, that does exist in the case of College Park, particularly in the multifamily environment, because there are a number of multiple family complexes within the corporate limits of College Park. And there's the marketplace, however, is actually encouraging more market rate activity in that regard. So the long-term challenge is to strike a balance with respect to any needs or concerns of low to moderate income families vis-a-vis what's happening in the marketplace.
Gotcha.
And that would be a constant challenge for any municipality, quite frankly. And College Park is definitely no different, given the interesting mix of dynamics that has been at play for a while.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. We're sitting here with Terrence Moore, the city manager for College Park, and so many really cool things happening over there, especially in the last year or year and a half. And I see that lots of new changes and developments are coming next year. But you have a new townhouse project with market price housing, 300,000. And tell us a little bit about that and its impact on the city. I think it's what's the name? It's Folia or something like that.
Folia, that's actually a little bit different. That is actually a subdivision to feature single-family homes, to include some townhouse properties within it. And that's been an interesting project because that is to benefit Ward 4, Ward 2 areas of the community of College Park. And what we're talking about is a housing development, market rate housing development. You just quoted some of the numbers in terms of what the price point is anticipated to be. And we're talking about the prospect of shy of 300 or so opportunities in terms of new homes, et cetera. So we're looking probably more like 280 to 290 or so. And that's the balance everyone was able to strike in terms of the decision to authorize this particular subdivision and a special land use zoning to help make that come to fruition. Likewise, it is very exciting in that this is an additional opportunity to expand residential base to encourage some of the other activities as well. So quite exciting for the city of College Park, and in particular for those particular areas of the community to secure market rate housing in the form of townhouses as well as some single family development as well. So again, something else to be proud of in the city of College Park, and we wish everyone well.
The trend would have to be for housing in, I gather, in College Park would be a trend towards attached rather than detached. Not a lot of, most of the new construction is attached, not too much detached.
Right. Particularly in these subdivisions. In the case of the Folia project, we're contemplating a little of both. So interestingly enough, the attached piece you just talked about is a market interest expressed by younger families who may have an interest in home ownership, but not necessarily don't wish to mow the lawn or have to deal with a lot of the
especially
labor.
among the millennials.
That's the commentary that is out there. So that attached environment is really targeting the expectations of that particular market niche, if you will. And therefore, there are a number of people who have an interest in home ownership without necessarily the responsibilities of a detached place. I guess I'm getting older because I do appreciate still having a detached home with a backyard, let the dogs out, and people go out to play, whatever the case may be. But there's a large segment of the population out there who values otherwise.
Sure, especially the younger, and maybe even the active adult population.
That's correct. I mean, there's a lot of interest out there, and in working with the individuals representing the Folia development, those concerns and visions were fairly well articulated, and thus the authorization process ensued from there.
Thanks for your contributions to the community, Terrence. I know that you contribute a great deal, and your city is benefiting greatly from your talents. And
well, I appreciate it, Lou. Thank you, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and we look forward to following up again soon to
maybe
talk some more about.
In the spring, we'll be back with maybe some more about your great city.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it, and happy holidays to all.
Thank you. And if you missed any of the show, it's on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. Have a nice day.